Today we're going to be talking about macros in Microsoft Office, specifically Word, but this should work in other Microsoft tools like PowerPoint or Excel as well. So first off, what is a macro? A macro is a way for you to automate things you do in Word by recording it and playing it back later. So if you're getting annoyed with an action you find yourself constantly doing, you could just put in the macro and then run the macro later instead of having to do it all manually. Alright, first things first, you'll find that if you go through the ribbon, you won't find anything about macros in here. That's because you have to first enable it in the settings. So let's go ahead and do that. Go to the File tab and go to the options down here. And in this little list, we'll go down to Customize Ribbon. And over here, we'll see a little checkbox called Developer. We'll click that, then click OK. And now we'll be able to get the Developer tab ribbon. This little section called Code, this is what we're going to be working with, specifically macros, record macro, pause recording, and such. Alright, let's go ahead and make a really simple macro. So we're going to click Record Macro up here. We're going to name this one Type A. And we're just going to go ahead and click OK for now. Now, if you look at your cursor, you'll have a little cassette tape that indicates that the macro is being recorded. You'll see that pause recording, stop recording, those options have changed in response to the fact that we are recording a macro. Now go ahead and type the letter A. And now we'll just do stop recording. So that made a macro that types the letter A, and we'll be able to run it by going in macros. I'm going to type A, we'll click run, and then put the letter A in there. And we can continually do this to show how it works. So we made a simple macro that just typed the letter A. Now that's not very useful because we could obviously just type the letter A ourselves. So let's try making a more useful macro, like one that would set up a page. Now we can usually do this in other ways, like a document template, but this is just going to be another way that you could do it. Like before, we're going to click Record Macro, type in Setup Page, type in the description, sets up the page. Here's an option, Store Macro In, and we have all documents and document this document. So if you wanted something that you can share with other people, specifically in the document, you put it in the document. Whereas if it's just a bunch of tools that you might be using that's only useful to you, you could put in all documents. In this case, we'd only set up the page once, so it probably doesn't make sense to put it in the document. So we're just going to leave it in the default. And once we've done that, we can just click OK. Now we're recording our macro like before. Now, since we're recording, we should be conscious of how we get our task done. Try to get it as simple as possible in the term of number of steps. So we're going to go to the Home tab, and then we're going to click Write a Line. I'll just put my name, and then we're going to be like subject. And I like to put in the date, but if I put in today's date, that wouldn't make any sense tomorrow. Instead, we're going to have Word put in the date for us. And we'll have this little thing here that says insert date and time. We can click that and put in the format we like. And that allows us to have a date that would work in the macro anytime. Alright? And then we can do here is a sentence. Additionally, we'd like to put in page numbers. So I went to the Insert tab, and I'm going to do page number, bottom of the page, and I like to put the right. Okay. We'll click Close Header and Footer. So now we're done. So we're going to go back to the Developer tab, click Stop Recording. So if we had a fresh document, I'm going to undo everything. And if we had a fresh document, click Macro, and look for the macro we just created, Setup Page. Click Run, and it'll set up the document just like we had before. And you'll be able to do that anytime you document. Now, remember, a macro doesn't really have an idea of what's on the page already. So if we were to run the macro again, it'll be pretty messed up. So if we just did that, we have all this garble going on here because it just executed the instructions like almost like a program. So you can only run it once on probably a fresh document. Let's do another example now. Let's say we had a bunch of sentences, like this is a sentence, and let's say we had a bunch of these. I want to remove the periods from each of these sentences. They're all on individual lines, so I'd like to just go in and make a macro to do that. Let's go back to record macro like usual. We'll type in remove last, type of description, moves last character from the line. And I'm going to store this macro in a button. Now this allows me to be able to run the macro without having to go through the menu like before. We'll click the macro name, click Add, and this will put it into the Quick Access toolbar. And we'll go ahead and click OK. Now we're recording a macro once again. Now I'd like to just go over and remove the period by clicking here. But we can't, because this is a macro. So how we're going to do that is that we're going to have to go to the end of the sentence, and the arrow keys, whilst that works, that isn't the best way to do it. We should go ahead and press the end key, get to the end, and then press backspace, and press down. We're going to stop recording right there. So that basically defines the actions needed to remove that period right there. So if I go ahead and click the button that we just made, it'll remove a period, and I can spam it and all of them would just go away. That saved me the trouble of having to twiddle around the arrow keys and do it all myself. And especially if there were more of these, then it'd be a lot more useful. So, alright, so I've shown you 3 different examples of macros. Hopefully that'll give you enough of a foundation so that whenever you find yourself repeating something, you're making a paper or doing something in Excel, you'll be able to make your own macro to lessen the pains of repetition. Alright, thanks.